Good morning, dear students. Today we are going to do this lesson from your Vistas, the third level, by Jack Finney. Before we start the lesson, let us look into the background of the writer, Jack Finney. Walter Braden Jack Finney was an American author, and his best-known works are science fiction and thrillers, including The Body Snatcher and The Time and Again. So, before taking up this lesson, it is necessary to know what a science fiction is. Already in class 11, you have done one science fiction, and that is adventure. So science fiction is a genre of fiction in which the stories they often tell about science and technology of the future. It has a futuristic vision. Here it is important to note that science fiction has relationship with principles of science. Though these theories may be partially true and partially fictitious, based on laws, theories of science with a lot of fiction, but they always have some futuristic vision. If we look at the background of the story, The Third Level by Jack Finney, it is about harsh realities of war. War, as we all know, has irreversible consequences, leaving people in a state of insecurity, fear, as well as modern day problems and how common man, is trying to escape from reality by various means. So in this story, the protagonist is a man, a 40 years old man, Charlie, who hallucinates and reaches the third level of the Grand Central Station. And the Grand Central Station of New York has only two levels. The president of the New York Central and the New York, New Haven, Hartford railroads, they will swear on the stack of timetables that there are only two levels of the station. But Charlie reaches that day the third level of the Grand Central Station. The incident that day. The Grand Central Station was a fast-growing station, and at times Charlie was in a state of maze. Earlier also he had lost a couple of times while taking the subway. Once he entered the lobby of Roosevelt Hotel, while the other time he emerged at an office building that was 3 blocks away. But this time, he loses his way, something unique happens, and he visits the third level. He is late from office and he is rushing to his home. And like other days, he catches the train at the Central Station, which has 2 levels. But that day, he keeps walking in the quiet corridor, angling left, slanting downwards, till he reaches an architecturally old station that is completely different from the familiar 2 levels of the station that he had seen earlier. What does he see? The small rooms with fewer ticket counters, train gates, a wooden information booth, flickering open gaslight, brass pitons. All this reminds him of the architecture of 1800. He also finds people are dressed in old-fashioned, outmoded outfits. And he also notices a newspaper that was being sold. And the date on this newspaper, The World, is printed June 11, 1894. So, has he reached the third level? Now, he tenders money to the clerk at the counter to buy 2 tickets because he longs to go to the past, to Galesburg, where life was very quiet, very silent and peaceful. But then the man at the ticket counter looks at him. He wants to go to Galesburg with his wife. But the suspicious look of the man at the ticket counter leaves him worried. And he hurriedly leaves, because old times prisons were also no better. And he realizes that he does not have old currency bill to do so. He takes a train back to home from the first level, and then he visits his psychiatrist friend Sam to tell him about his problem, to tell him about his strange experience of visiting the third level. But his psychiatrist friend says he is living in delusion. It's a waking dream wish fulfillment. Like his past hobbies, stamp collection, which was a temporary refuge from the world full of insecurity, fear, war and worry. His wife Louisa is also worried. She disbelieves her husband and she thinks it as a personal comment on their married life. But Charlie is convinced that there are 3, not just 2 levels at the Grand Central Station. So during lunch break the next day, Charlie withdraws nearly all his savings and buys old-style currency, but he can never again find the entrance to the third level at the Grand Station. So his plan for journey is not realized. And then, as Charlie is in the habit of philately, which is stamp collection, but it is not just stamp collection. The stamp collectors, they are so fond of this hobby that they study the stamps, the postal history and other related items with stamp collection. When a stamp is issued, on the first day, people mail a blank paper to themselves. And then they retain the unopened letter because it has a proof of the date of the postmark. That is the date of the release of that stamp. So this envelope is a first day cover. And Charlie has inherited this hobby and collection from his grandfather. So Charlie, while one day he is going through his stamp collection record, while fidgeting with his stamp collection, he comes across a letter which was not there earlier. And it bears the postmark on a faded 6-cent stamp with a picture of President Garfield. This envelope was sent on July 18, 1894 to his grandfather in Galesburg and is addressed to Charlie. So Charlie reads that, and in this envelope there is a note from Sam which says that Sam has already reached Galesburg and is having a whale of time there. He is also inviting Charlie and Louisa to join Galesburg. So now Charlie's search begins. He goes to the stamp and coin store, and there he is told that Sam has exchanged $800 from the old currency bills to establish his business of hay, feed and grain in Galesburg. And this letter was written by Sam Wiener, his psychiatrist friend. Now, on a deeper thought, he realizes that why he has left psychiatry in Galesburg. Probably he has started a new business of hay, feed and grain, because no more psychiatrists are required in this peaceful small town. Now Charlie's search for the third level once again goes on. This story, the third level, is the most concise and entertaining story about time travel. The story dwells on the theme of escapism, a psychological refuge from the grim realities, sad realities, mad rush, mad race of the present day world. But it is also as a desire to stay, to bind with the past and keep the past alive in the complexities of the present. And Charlie's search goes on. So let us quickly recapitulate this lesson, the third level by Jack Finney. As we see, there are three characters: Charlie, the protagonist, Louisa, his wife, and Sam, his psychiatrist friend. The setting of the story is New York, Grand Central Station, 1940, Galesburg, Illinois, 1890. So time travel, 1940 to the Galesburg, from New York to the Galesburg of 1890. Theme of the story is people often yearn for simpler, less stressful life. It is an escape to the past. Escape from the complexities of the modern world to the past. And be united or be connected with the past. There is a conflict in the story. Man versus his own self. Charlie is looking to escape from reality. The climax of the story is Charlie discovers a way to travel back in time, the third level of the Grand Central Station. Resolution: Charlie can't find the third level, but he knows it exists because Sam writes him a letter that it does. So Charlie's search goes on. As said earlier, this story is a science fiction, and the quality of science fiction is that it has a relationship with the principles of science, and the story is a time travel. So they are partially fictitious laws and theories of science. So maybe at present it is Charlie's escape from reality, escape from the real world to the world of past, to the peaceful world of the past. The story ends with a futuristic approach, like all science stories, science fiction stories, and it is an escape from the real world, from the complexities of the real world. Thank you, students. I hope you all have understood this lesson. You are advised now to go through your textbooks. You will be provided with resource material based on the lesson, as well as assignment for tomorrow's class. Thank you, children.